Mackenzie Shirilla is putting on a big act for the cameras in the Netflix documentary about her case. This is according to a prison insider who served time with her and believes that Mackenzie should be moved to a maximum security prison.
In prison, when I was there with her, never did I ever see a sad Mackenzie. It was always somebody who was very happy-go-lucky, chipper, smile on her face, laughing, strutting around the yard. It was never anybody who looked like that in the court hearing or like the Mackenzie that was in the Netflix documentary.
Shirilla is described as a mean girl, showing no signs of remorse, operating a business behind bars, only worried about her appearance, not the people that she murdered. She was convicted of killing her boyfriend and their friend while driving her car more than 100 miles per hour into a brick wall. You're going to hear from this prison insider and what the documentary got wrong. But first, do me a favor, hit the like, hit the subscribe, and share this episode with a friend. Now, the case of Mackenzie Shirilla. We have a very special guest on the program. We have Kat Crowder, who is a social media influencer. I'll have all the details in my show notes, as well as at the end, we're going to talk about how you can follow her with Bougie Behind Bars. You're a former prison inmate with Mackenzie Shirilla. First off, thank you for being here. But I guess the big question on everyone's minds is this a dangerous person we're talking about?
I mean, in retrospect, I would say anybody that is capable of doing what she did would be considered dangerous. Now, is she somebody that I would personally fear? No. And that's just, again, because I was in there up close and personal with her and got a different feel for who I believe she really is.
Should she ever get out?
Taking 2 lives, I think getting out is not warranted at all. I don't think she should be able to go and live her life, which I feel as if because of all this exposure right now would be pretty comfortable if she did get out. Um, I don't think that she should get out, and I don't think that she will. And if she does, it won't be for a very, very long time.
Before I talk about remorse with you and whether or not you saw any remorse, I want to just play part of her last court appearance, which was her sentencing. And this is the judge addressing her, and just kind of look at her body language and behavior. And then I'll ask you if you saw the same person or any remorse in prison.
The defendant controlled all the events. She chose the day. Specifically, she chose a date just before her 18th birthday. She chose to drive the car, the time to drive the car. She chose an obscure, previously scouted route through an industrial parkway. She chose the target to hit and the victims. She chose the means and the method to follow through. And she planned and purposefully executed the events of July 31st, 2022.
Okay, so what stood out to me with all of that is just her constant shaking of her head when the judge is kind of like saying, these are the facts. You went through court, you were here,
Right.
and she chose a bench trial. There was no jury. But what's your reaction to her after this, when she's in prison? What did you see? Any remorse?
Not at all. I never once saw her drop a tear or look distraught like she is in that clip. I believe she's appearing like that in court because it's hitting her that this is what her fate is. I mean, her nodding her head and saying no, in my perspective, it's more along the lines of still trying to continue that I didn't do it, this wasn't planned, it's whatever. And because in prison, when I was there with her, never did I ever see a sad Mackenzie. It was always somebody who was very happy-go-lucky, chipper, smile on her face, laughing, strutting around the yard. It was never anybody who looked like that in the court hearing or like the Mackenzie that was in the Netflix documentary. It's all very different people, which I kind of think speaks on how she's able to kind of be like a chameleon, if that makes sense.
The person in court that we just saw as you said, is different than the person that's been in prison that you have seen with your own eyes and interacted with versus who she's trying to portray on Netflix. So briefly just describe the two and how they don't add up. Like, how is she really behind bars?
I see her as, and who I saw her as, was somebody who was still holding that I want to be an influencer, I want attention, I want to be seen mindset even behind prison. This Mackenzie that was displayed in the documentary again was somebody who does not, her voice is even different. The way that she's talking with more of an accent and the way that she's carrying herself very smug and just kind of got, like I've said, like this edge to her is not who I saw at all. She was very, you know, bright and smile on her face, lots of blush, pink lipstick, very girly. And that is, I think, what was the biggest jaw dropper for me in this documentary, because when she walked out, I had to rewind it multiple times because I was like, this is not the girl that I saw by any means. Who is this?
Again, double down on what were the differences. So the documentary portrays her how, and what was the main difference from what you saw?
In my opinion, the documentary portrayed her almost as this smug, hardened inmate. She, the way that she sits down with her arms crossed and kind of glares at the camera, and how she has this edge to her voice. When I was in there, she spoke like a valley girl. She, drew her words out, had a high-pitched voice, was very much just different. She carried herself, she had her hair curled every day like she was going almost to prom or something. Not this, dull, edgy girl that I feel was portrayed in the documentary at all.
Okay, so that kind of tracks. When you look at video of her from her arrest after this incident, she was arrested after going to, she went to physical therapy. And, so already she was in a moment where she had to have been thinking about the terrible crash that took these lives, that she's convicted of killing. These two, her boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and Davion Flanagan, their friend. He was 21. The friend is 20. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than that. How she survived is another story, and we'll talk about it, about her wearing that seatbelt. But I mean, so she's going to physical therapy, then she's arrested, and what she cares about, it appears, is what she's wearing. And she's not really saying, oh my gosh, it's not a normal response, in my opinion, and I've been doing this a minute. And so I wanted to show this to you and get your response.
Step out for me. I'm Detective Hazu. I'm the one who's been investigating the crash. You're under arrest for aggravated murder ×2. Okay? Nobody's going to ask you any questions. Nobody's going to bother you. Can I have your key, please?
Could you please be careful taking this one off so it doesn't break the bracelet, please?
You got it. You got it. No.
Thank you.
You got it. Okay, just keep your hands right here.
Okay, Mackenzie, I'm gonna take your handcuffs off. I need like all the jewelry and everything to come off, okay?
I can't wear any of it.
No, I need you to take it off while you're in jail right now.
Sorry, this is just like one of those which is really hard to get off.
That's fine, take your time.
Oh yeah.
So is this more of the person that you saw? I mean, she's so worried about what she's wearing and what she's doing, and it's a little bit bizarre to me.
I would say it's more like the person that I saw. I mean, there's a lot of people who've came out and said that those bracelets were actually given to her or made for her from Dom. Now, I don't know. It's such a bizarre situation, like you said, because I know which obviously I have been arrested in the past for way lesser crimes, and my first reaction is, was tears, you know, like, please, like, is there anything I can do? I don't want to do this, or I didn't do it, or things of that sort. For her reaction to be so focused on the bracelets is kind of wild to me, just because I think when something that drastic is going on, I don't feel like your main concern would be what your jewelry and your clothing and all those things. But seeing her in prison, I could definitely see, a correlation, because she was very, I mean, this is a girl that woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning every single day and in prison to go nowhere, mind you, and put a full face of makeup on. She had, gems in her hair, clips in her hair done, her clothes altered, almost as if she was going to make an appearance on the prison yard.
So caring about what people think
Mhm.
and still not showing any signs of remorse. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, no signs of remorse, and a lot of I want the attention on me.
Follow-up question to this. How do women get makeup in prison?
So I've gotten asked that a lot. There's a couple ways. The first way is commissary. They sell a few makeup items on commissary, which is somewhere you go twice a month and you spend the money that's on your books or your commissary. Now, the more there's more of a variety of makeup on these third-party vendors that your family or support ones, loved ones, can order for you, and you can get them through, like, they're called sundry packages. And they have makeup, and a lot of it, they've got curling irons, flat irons, hairbrushes, what we would consider good hygiene brands. So, like, your drugstore brands, not just the stuff that's strictly in the prison. And it's expensive. It's, doubled in price compared to what you would pay in the free world. And so she's had to have gotten it, and this is just speculation, I would assume, from her parents. I'm not saying she doesn't have anybody else who's buying it, but the amount that she accumulated so quickly, because I was there with her for it was the first year of her sentence. And I mentioned that in one of my videos. I said I was there with her early on in her sentence, and people were like, she was there for a year already almost. That's early when we're talking about a 15-year to life sentence. It's still fresh, it's still new. So for her to have accumulated all this stuff so quickly was kind of wild.
Do you think that she fools a lot of people? Do you think that she has people in prison fooled? Because it seems like you weren't fooled by her.
No, I don't. So the women in prison aren't really what I would say fazed by Mackenzie. She doesn't run prison. She doesn't have much of a say. People know what she's in there for. But there's many people in there that we know what they're in there for. I think she sticks out so much because, like, my first initial thought when I saw her was, what is this little girl doing in here? She does not look like she would be here ever. Because, she sticks out. She's young. She's not ugly. So you look at her and you're like, she just looks innocent. And then you find out very quickly, because it's a gossip mill in there. Everything travels fast. And you are like, this 100-pound girl took the lives of two people by running her vehicle into a brick wall. It's just mind blowing. But as far as, people being fooled, I think when you're in prison, you take everything with a grain of salt when it comes to other people, because you know that all you're able to hear inside of there is what people on the outside are telling you, or what little bit of information you're getting in there. So I think that she just, is in there like everybody else. She's just known for what she's in there for.
Did you have you were not close with her, right? I've seen other interviews that you've done. You were not her best friend,
No.
nothing like that. But did you run in the same circle? Did you speak with her on a regular? Did you have any interaction with her?
I did not run in the same circle with her. My prison schedule was pretty busy because I was in a lot of groups and stuff, but I was out on every yard. So they open the yard 3 times a day, and she was always outside. I had a couple conversations with her, and it was about things that she was making. So it's pretty common to have like a prison hustle or a way to make money. And she would make jewelry and like customize shoes and alter clothes. And my friend that I was walking the yard with her with one day noticed that Mackenzie was talking to a table next to us and showing some of the jewelry that she was making. So we spoke to her about these nose rings that she was making. Not sure how she got the material to make it, but my friend ended up buying 2 of them from her for $25. And she said, Cash App rules the prison. People are always wondering about that. So Mackenzie told my friend, she said, okay, she wrote the Cash App down. She said, send it to this Cash App. I'm going to call my mom in like 30 minutes to see if she got it. If she got the money. And then if she did, I'll bring it back on the next, or I'll bring it outside on the next yard. So that right there just showed me Natalie is still the one running her not only like life outside of prison as far as her free Mackenzie Shirilla pages and all of that, but she's also, helping behind the scenes with her prison hustles and supporting her and all of that within prison.
So, would you describe her as someone that could plan a murder? Because I'm going to play this clip. So already you've established that she is someone that is surviving prison and running a business and possibly manipulating people, including producers of a documentary, if she's not portraying herself as she really is. But let me play this at her sentencing and then get your reaction.
Okay.
There's a very good likelihood, Mackenzie, that you will spend the rest of your life in prison. That won't be up to me. That will be up to the parole board, and that will be up to you to a great extent. I understand that the pain in this room wants me to impose the harshest sentence, but I don't believe that would be the appropriate sentence, because I do believe that Mackenzie will not be out in 15 years. So she's sentenced on count 2, the murder of Davion Flanagan, 15 years to life. She's sentenced on count 1, the murder of Dominic Russo, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other with credit for time served.
Okay, should she be in a maximum security prison? Because she's not right now, right?
She's not. So she's in Marysville, which is medium security. People are confused by that because everyone has this idea in their mind that people convicted of murder, they go to the harshest prison that there is. But that's simply not the truth. They go through a lot of things to classify you. And I don't know her behavior in there personally now, because when I was in there with her, she kept her head down. She didn't really impose a threat to general population. But from some of the things that I've seen recently about her disciplinary infractions, she probably should definitely go to DCI, which is the maximum security prison in Dayton. And I and other inmates have talked about this. We definitely believe that she will end up getting leveled up and being moved to maximum, especially with the way that her behavior is looking like now in prison. That's pretty common. So I do see her ending up in maximum.
Do you think that she planned the murders? Because prosecutors were laying out a case where they were saying that she went through the route before. And this wasn't in the documentary, according to some of the chatter online, that she drove the route of the crash days before and that she was the only one wearing the seatbelt. So what do you think? And I know that you haven't had the conversation with her, but what do you think?
I have a theory on what happened that night. Do I think that this is something that was planned weeks in advance? Personally, I don't. I think one of the reasons they didn't put her traveling that route prior into the documentary was because it's kind of came out since then that was a frequented road. That was a frequent cut through. That was very common for people to go down that road. As far as my theory on what happened that night, I think, they were supposed to stay the night at this Rosie's house. And I believe something happened. Dominic and Mackenzie got into it, and it was either, well, I'm leaving, and Dominic was gonna, like, I'm gonna go with you, or Dominic said, you can get your stuff and get out of my house, or this is all speculation, and I think Davion, who was initially supposed to go with his other friend, said, I don't feel comfortable. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to make sure everything's okay because they're clearly arguing, fighting. Something's not good. So they left early in that morning. And I believe that they were going back and forth, and it probably got escalated and escalated. And she made that split decision to run her car into a wall. Now, the thing that does stick out to me is the seatbelt, because we see in the documentary all the videos of her, smoking marijuana, driving with no seatbelt on. You don't see one video of her with a seatbelt on. So the seatbelt situation, either she had to have put that on while they were arguing, or she put it on knowing that this was something that she was going to do. Now, I believe either Mackenzie did not expect to survive this, or Mackenzie didn't think that anybody was going to pass. She just thought maybe it was going to scare them, spook them, injure people.
Well, that's frightening either way.
Right, 100%.
It really is. And if anyone's watching this and they have thoughts about suicide, call 988. You can get help. It's a tip line you can call. I just want to ask again, though, about the documentary. And that's the reason why our case is back in the headlines, right? And, just talk, like, again, this isn't the person that you met. This isn't her.
No. And I'm not, there's other women that have came out since the documentary and kind of shared their opinion, and everyone says the same thing. This Mackenzie that we were incarcerated with almost looks like she's trying to conform to prison life, which she very well could be. It's typical that happens for people that stay there for a long time. I guess you kind of get in where you fit in, or whatever you do, what you got to do to feel comfortable. But in my opinion, if this is how she's portraying herself and acting now within prison, she's again just trying to kind of have some kind of popularity within the prison. Because the Mackenzie that I was in there with kept her head down. She wasn't involved with the people that were there for life sentences, or she wasn't into the prison politics. She was just into being seen as, oh, she's cute. Look at her makeup. Oh, look, she always does her hair. That's Mackenzie. Very much, high school mindset. And that doesn't really get you anywhere in prison.
And there's also talk that she had girlfriends, or does.
So I spoke to Cheyenne. She's kind of shared her story about being in a relationship with Mackenzie and what that looked like. And she's had more one-on-one conversations with Mackenzie than I have. So people are really interested in seeing what she has to say. And since all of this, it's come out, her disciplinary infractions. And those consist of a lot of, sexual misconduct, things of that sort. So she's definitely in there being intimately involved with women, which is common in prison for people who are there for a while. I just think it speaks volumes since she's in there for murdering her boyfriend and trying to portray this image of remorse. But in my personal opinion, if you're in prison for these horrific crimes, but still actively seeking relationships inside prison, that doesn't speak very remorseful to me.
She also wants Kim Kardashian to represent her.
Yeah, that's crazy. So those phone interviews, I don't think, or phone calls, I don't think a lot of people are aware that they came out when this case first started, that those were phone calls from county jail when she was first booked in, and her story was being, posted, on the Daily Mail, like we've heard her mom talk about in that phone call. But I would 100% still believe that she would push for that, and definitely Natalie Shirilla would push for that. I think it's wild to me, and I commend Kim Kardashian for coming out and shutting that down very quickly. That's kind of how I am when people try to say, oh, you were friends with her, and I'm like, no, don't even say that to me. Kim Kardashian was like, I'm not, no, I want no parts in it.
What should she be doing, in your opinion? How should she be treating her life, treating the dignity of her victims and their families?
So in prison, you have tons of opportunities. It's called Ohio Reformatory for Women for a reason. There's so many classes that you can take. You can get your bachelor's degree. You can go to cosmetology school. You can take, victim impact classes, IOP, all types of things. And when I was in there, she wasn't doing any of that. I'm not to say she's not doing it now, but I think the biggest thing that she could do um, is give a genuine apology to the victims' families and give them some sort of closure. You're already convicted, the appeal was denied. I think she has like one more appeal left, and that's like a habeas corpus appeal. I don't see that getting, it's over. There's no need to keep making this broad story, because when she goes up for parole, the biggest thing that they're looking for is accountability. Because again, you're already convicted, you're already sentenced, you're already in there. They know that you've done this crime. You can't make them feel any other way. And they look at your disciplinary, and they look at what the things that you've done within prison with your time. And for her to not be doing any of that, or just come out to Davion and Dominic's family and actually mean it and say, I'm sorry, I don't have anything I can say is not going to make this right. But whatever her story may be, that's the truth, and apologize to them and give them some sort of closure. I think in the mix of all of this with her case and all the people forget that there's victims involved in victims' families. Christine Russo, I spoke to her a few times. I've been on her podcast. She just wants continued justice for Dominic. That's all. And I know the Flanagan family want the same thing, and just they can't wrap their mind around it. And I don't think they ever will be able to, but I do think that a sincere apology and some accountability would speak volumes to them.
I think that that's well said, and we should end it there. I mean, that's a beautiful sentiment, and I really do pray for those families. They're the true victims, and they get the life sentence. No matter what you think about the perpetrator, the person in jail, it's the families that have the life sentence.
Right.
How did you end up in prison? And you seem like you're doing well. I'm happy.
Thank you. I was struggling a lot in my early 20s, late teens, made some really poor decisions, surrounded myself with some not great people. And that just kind of snowballed effect for a few years in my life. And I ended up, traveling, making the choice to travel with some of these not so great friends that were broken people, just like I was at the time, to Detroit from Nashville. And I ended up getting in a high-speed chase with the police. And then I was sentenced to 18 months in Ohio Reformatory for Women. I had other things I had to deal with here in Tennessee. And it just kind of all caught up to me at the same time. And I, had to pay for my poor choices. But I think that saved my life. And I think that everything happens for a reason. Now I've done like a full transformation of my life. I don't even recognize that person that I was. I'm in school. I'm in cosmetology school. I work full time. I'm a full-time mother, single mother. And I've accomplished a lot in the short time that I've been out. And I think when I was in there, it was like a come to Jesus moment for myself. I can't continue living how I've been living, because I have to be an example for my daughter, and I'm tired of hurting, and I'm tired of letting people down. So my life looks completely different. I'm so grateful. I pray every day, just that I was able to even still be here, because I could not be here anymore, the way that I was living, the way that I was headed.
Well, you're well spoken, and I think that you're an example to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people make poor choices, and it's just how you deal with it, right? So, how do we follow you? And you're a social media, you're an influencer, you're a creator. Tell me about your platforms.
So I'm based on TikTok, but I'm also on YouTube and Instagram, but and it's under the handle Bougie Behind Bars. A
Which
little
is
play on
cute.
words. Thank you. A little play on words. My platform's really about kind of breaking the stigma, discussing true crime and just showing people that kind of like you said, we all make mistakes, we pay for it, but that doesn't have to be the end of our story. So I just, try to inspire people and make people laugh.
Well, fantastic. And thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. It was great being here.
In 2023, Mackenzie Shirilla was sentenced to two 15 years to life sentences with the possibility of parole. She has appealed multiple times and have been denied. Her next eligible parole date is 2037. Her defense claimed that she had no recollection and suffered from POTS syndrome, which causes dizziness and fainting. Prosecutors said that there were no signs of that, and the judge didn't believe it. Again, if you have any thoughts or know someone that is struggling with mental health issues, there's always a lifeline. There is 988. That's all you have to call, and you can speak with a counselor. You can remain anonymous. Let's keep our thoughts and prayers with the victims' families. That's going to do it for this episode. We'll see you next time.